Gracias. Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Rochester. We are a church of open minds and loving hearts, celebrating many sources of wisdom and many spiritual paths. Your faith, your doubts, your questions, your hopes, your identities are welcome here. Welcome especially to visitors and newcomers. We're glad you're here. There's a preschool playroom open for young ones throughout the morning, and groups for kids following the Time for All Ages. All are welcome. After service, you can join us down in the Commons for refreshments and fellowship, where you can find ways to get involved in the life of the church and the community. You can also find information on the back of your order of service for some upcoming events, and you can contact information is in the order of service as well if you have questions about groups or different events and how to get involved. Our justice partner for this month is the Jeremiah Program, Disrupting Generational Poverty Through Supportive Programming and Housing. You can give as the plates pass or anytime online. All of the collection today will go to that work, and you can find out more in your order of service about what they do in the community. We're grateful for that partnership, as well as a Cook for Kids opportunity coming up that Julie Gilkinson has been coordinating. Thanks to all who have supported that work. A few special notes. First, together with our state and national Unitarian Universalist organizations, we are sending postcards to promote values of justice this election, specifically toward important districts where values of human dignity are threatened. You can visit the UU The Vote table in the lobby. You may have seen it already on your way in to help finish that project or donate postage and more, including upcoming events like a postage party in September, everybody's favorite kind of party, including ice cream. So if you like ice cream and democracy, you can visit the table today and learn more about that. There's some special treats and prizes there as well already, so please join that good effort. And today there's a special event many of you already know about at 3 o'clock at the Rochester Civic Theater in response to hateful comments in our community over the last several months, including at the bridge by Century High a few months ago, hateful words directed at the synagogue and our Jewish neighbors, and racist messages vandalizing the home of a political candidate in town. So you can join us for an anti-hate rally and forum today at 3 o'clock at the Rochester Civic Theater, led by the Rochester NAACP and supported by Isaiah, one of our interfaith justice partners. I will be there along with many other faith leaders and communities. All are invited as we remind each other the community we are striving to make and continue to work toward that is rooted in justice and love. All are welcome today at 3 o'clock. So let us enter our time of worship this morning with these words from our minister in the 1870s, the Reverend Eliza Tupper Wilkes. May our faith in humanity and our message of hope and good cheer light our way. It's good to be together. A brief intro to our hymn today. All this week I was grateful to travel with a group of 14 on a Unitarian Universalist pilgrimage in and around Concord and Boston, Massachusetts. This has become a central practice in our congregation, including growing financial support for scholarships for this experience and of deepening Unitarian Universalist history and identity. Part of what we explore is the impact of transcendentalism, a really big word, but in short, the idea that however you define God, the holy, the sacred, can be found and experienced directly in the natural world, that all of creation is an expression of God, and everyone has access to experience that wonder everywhere. So in that spirit and with that imagery infused in some of these lyrics, our opening hymn of Joyful, Joyful will call us back in just a moment. A song we heard played this week from the bell tower of one of our historic UU churches, sounding over the Boston Commons. So before we sing, I invite you to rise in body or spirit and greet those around you.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. With gratitude, we'll now accept the offering.
I'd like to invite children or whoever else would like to come up and here, find out what's in our little wonder box today. I'm also going to invite Derek up to help me with today's Time for All Ages. How many of you have ever been to a museum? Been to a museum? How many of a workroom? Yep. So today I want to talk about stuff that you see in a museum. How many of you have ever heard of this guy, Thomas Alva Edison? A few of us, right? So if you haven't looked at these books, they're great. They're little who was, who is. And I have other ones too. So I have Thomas Alva Edison. I have Marie Curie, an inventor, a woman inventor. Is there anybody you're looking for?
Do you have George Washington Carver in there?
I do.
Way to represent.
Way to represent. Different skin tones, different races, different nationalities, different genders.
Do you have Mariah Mitchell?
No. You want to tell me about her quick?
She was the first astronomer in the United States to be recognized in Europe. She discovered an asteroid and won a prize from the King of Denmark for it.
Well, that's pretty cool. Let's see who else I have in here. I have Leonardo da Vinci. Good. That'd be good.
I mean, do you have Harriet Hosmer?
I have Frida Kahlo.
It's also good, but Harriet Hosmer. Oh, there's a mountain in Iowa named after Harriet Hosmer because she won a race to scale the mountain. Mark Twain saw it, but then she became a queer icon in Italy as one of the first major American sculptors.
And was she white or black?
She's white.
Okay, but still, queer woman, Mark Twain, so it gives you the time period.
But I mean, Edamonia Lewis was one of her students. She's the first woman sculptor that made international renowned, and Hosmer helped her also in Rome.
Wow. Have you seen any of those people in a museum? No, not so much. How about Daniel Boone? Yeah. Explorer.
Do we have Mary Peabody Mann?
No.
Oh.
You want to tell me about Mary Peabody Mann? I have a feeling she was pretty important, and I don't know who well, I know who she is. But Derek knows more.
Mary Peabody Mann is one of the foremost educators in the United States. She pushed her husband, Horace Mann, to actually create an educational system because he was just a politician. He didn't know what he was talking about. She was a teacher. She knew what she was talking about.
So who in this room has heard of Horace Mann? Who in this room before this moment has heard of Mary Peabody Mann? Oh, there's a few. There's a few. But still, who has schools named after them?
Horace Mann.
Who should have schools named after them?
Mary Peabody Mann.
So this is one thing we've talked about, as Luke referenced the pilgrimage that we were on, was when you're going into these places and looking around and wandering around and looking in rooms and looking in museums and all you're seeing is white men, that's probably not the entire story. Even if you're only seeing white women, that's probably not the only story. Because the history that we have, not only as Unitarian Universalists, but as humans and people who've lived in this world, there have been a lot of people who've done a lot of major things who don't have the recognition that they deserve. Do you have anything you want to add?
Amen.
So, dig deeper and look who's not in the room. And with that, we'll play Austin will play the children's benediction. You can find the lyrics in the back inside cover of your hymnal.
Good morning. It is good to be with you. I invite you to settle in here as we create a place of communal caring and connection. It's our time to pause amidst the busyness of our lives, to slow down enough to consider the beauty that is here all around us, and to open a space for listening and love. Here, we honor all who support us in this caring, loving, and all-inclusive ministry. We send gratitude to Sue Anderson, serving as our caring coordinator, arranging care for our members and friends in need for the last 2 weeks. Phyllis Beery will take over tomorrow for the next 2, and we thank her for that. The members of our caring committee are wonderful examples of our compassionate community, holding us up as we go through challenging and happy times. And life can be challenging. We could all use some extra support with what life throws at us. And if you are experiencing those challenges in your life, we encourage you to reach out for support and help. If you need additional care or personal pastoral care, please reach out to Reverend Luke or myself with that request. Our flowers this morning are shared by Roxanne Schlesner in honor of her 59th birthday. Yay! In this community, we share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because all people here have value. Each person's experience matters. We lift up those who are experiencing sadness, illness, or loneliness. May the strength and love in our congregation help guide you. And we revel in those who are experiencing joys in their lives. May their happiness lift us all, and may their joy filter into all around them. So after hearing Luke and Amy talk about having an open calendar a few weeks ago, Jeff Larson Keller has opened his own calendar and is retiring from his work at Mayo Clinic. Where is he? Yeah. His last day at work will be this coming Wednesday, like short notice. And he and Julie joined this church not long after arriving in Rochester in 1987. Jeff notes his journey would not have been the same without the support and fellowship of this church community. So if you need any jobs done, just give Jeff a call. So we wish Jeff, we celebrate with him and wish him a restful retirement for a few weeks. Cards of support and well wishes are welcome for all. The Cards of Support list that is compiled weekly contains several members and friends of the church who are experiencing loss or challenging times or happy times, and is posted in the entryway of the church. We provide cards and postage and welcome you to share well wishes in that way. Here, our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith is our focus. Let us carry that out into the wider world. May the faith in the Spirit of life, love for the community of earth, and love for the light in each other be ours now and in all the days to come.
I invite you to take a deep breath. Breathe deep the breath of life. Feel below you the earth and its ancient turning. Above you, the sky, and beyond that, the stars shining with their ancient light, holding you in this moment, this breath. You yourself made of earth and stars. Know that in this house you are named, you are known as beloved, as sacred. I invite you into this time of meditation, this time of prayer, first by sharing silence together. Spirit of life, source of love, God and Gaia of many names and beyond all naming. In attempting to find some balance for the soul and some hope amidst the regular torrents of uncertainty and messiness in our political worlds or our personal lives, even in our desire to notice the beauty of the earth that surrounds us, we can worry about the health of our air and soil, or what the future holds for this planet we share. Help us remember that moments of beauty and awe and justice and joy call us to be woven into the moment of right now, as well as holding the past and the future in the air we breathe. remembering the love and dedication of so many before us and the precious, fragile hope of those yet to come. To remember the incessant calls of children to play and to laugh and to yell, snapping our awareness right back to here and now. That even while holding the mess of it all, what matters most is the place we are right now, the love and care we express with those right here, and letting that lead us from one moment to the next, to the next, and to the next. Hold in our hearts this day all those who suffer in mind, body, or spirit. I invite you to bring the names you're holding in your own heart this day in joy or in sorrow, and silently or aloud now in this time to speak their names. For all the names known and unknown, may we all be held in love. These words of meditation are from Ada Limon, entitled Instructions on Not Giving Up. More than the fuchsia funnels breaking out of the crabapple tree, more than the neighbor's almost obscene display of cherry limbs shoving their cotton candy-colored blossoms to the slate sky of spring rains, more than that, it's the greening of the trees that really gets to me. When all the shock of white and taffy, the world's baubles and trinkets, leave the pavement strewn with the confetti of aftermath, the leaves come. Patient, plodding, a green skin growing over whatever winter did to us, a return to the strange idea of continuous living despite the mess of it, despite the mess of us, the hurt, the empty. Fine then, I'll take it, the tree seems to say, a new slick leaf unfurling like a fist to an open palm. I'll take it all. For the continuous living despite the mess, for the unfurling of leaf and palm. Amen. The hymn is Peace Before Us. The lyrics are in your order of service. Rose and I are going to introduce it once together, and then we are going to sing it all together, each verse. Peace before us, then love, then hope. Peace before us, peace behind us, peace under our feet. Peace within us, peace over us, let all around us be peace. Peace.
Peace before us, peace behind us, peace under our feet. Peace with
An excerpt from Ballad of Forgotten Places by Olga Orozco. My most beautiful hiding places, places that best fit my soul's deepest colors, are made of all that others forgot. They are solitary sites, hollowed out in the grass's caress, in a shadow of wings, in a passing song. Regions whose limits swirl with the ghostly carriages that transport the mist in the dawn, and in whose skies names are sketched, ancient words of love. My places would look like broken mirages, clippings of photographs torn from an album to orient nostalgia. But they have roots deeper than this sinking ground, these fleeing doors, these vanishing walls. They are enchanted islands where only I can be the magician. And who else, if not I, is climbing the stairs toward those attics in the clouds where the light, a flame, used to hum in the siesta's honey? Who else will open again the big chest where the remains of an unhappy story lie, sacrificed 1,000 times only to fantasy, only to foam, and try on the rags again like those costumes of invisible heroes? Who cleans the window pane with her breath and stirs the fire of the afternoon in those rooms where the table was an altar of idolatry? Like endless embraces, I slid down till I brushed the feathers of death, until I overturned the laws of knowledge and the fall of man. Who goes into the parks with the golden breath and reweaves the garlands with a thread of tears, one for each month, one for each year, one for each century of empty indulgence? A taste acid, but not as sharp as the bread of forgetfulness. Because who but I changes the water for all the memories? Who inserts the present like a slash into the dreams of the past? Who switches my ancient lamps for new ones? My most beautiful hiding places are solitary sites where no one goes and where there are shadows that only come to life when I am the magician.
The roots reminded me of roots in other places too. Beneath these towering trees shaded the graves of notable names. There were roots along the hills amidst the gravel and stone. But the roots here, like many places of gravel and stone, didn't just go down, but spread outward. Perhaps you know such tree roots that go to the side, that bust up just out of the earth, the kind that can tear up sidewalks or concrete, a beautiful reminder of the power of nature to break up our tidiness. My most central memories about such sidewinding, thick tree roots are from the North Shore along Lake Superior, trails that hold roots spreading just as far wide as the crown of the tree. Often I find myself slipping or tripping on them a bit. Just this past week in Sleepy Hollow Cemetery in Concord, not the Headless Horseman one of New York, but equally important cemetery, I was marveling at these tree roots along the hillside, sauntering near the graves of folks that I didn't even know, like Mary Lemus Titcomb, founder of the Bookmobile in America, who found out about the profession of librarianship in a church bulletin, a new story to me and a happy connection in my librarian minister home. And as I made my way among these names, known and unknown to me, I slipped a bit here and there on the roots. Nothing dramatic, but just a reminder that often as we go along in our living and in our stories, there are new stories just to the side of us and roots below us that even as we try to pay attention, can slip us up a bit. My hiding places would look like broken mirages, writes the poet. This poem from Olga Orozco reminds us that when we uncover stories and histories and identities that have been packed away, sometimes they come with joy, sometimes they come with sorrow, some come with gratitude or deep complexity at the messy humans living messy lives. She writes, clippings of photographs torn from an album to orient nostalgia. They have roots deeper than this sinking ground, these fleeing doors, these vanishing walls. And who else, if not I, she writes, is climbing the stairs towards those attics in the clouds? Who else will open again the big chest where the remains of an unhappy story lie? Roots deeper than this sinking ground. Sometimes even the gravestones in these old cemeteries are vanishing themselves into the ground or going one way or the other, or they're amidst names lost to most, where sometimes amidst our searching, some unhappy story lies and make our simple histories slip a little or a lot. What are the hiding places made of all that others forgot? Or what are the stories that we are called to uncover? Each time we travel the stories of our religious ancestors with due credit and thanks for Derek Robertson's research and Amy Nelson's magic of logistics, I just go along for the ride. I'm just the resident poet, spiritual person that just kind of tags along. But we ask the questions and explore the stories that are often untold or forgotten, or at the very least more complex than what is often remembered or told. Some of the stories are hopeful and exciting, like the story of Unitarian Franklin Sanborn, a teacher, a fierce abolitionist, part of what was known as the Secret Six that logistically and financially supported John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry to free enslaved people. There in Concord, in April of 1860, several months after the raid, federal marshals showed up at night at Sanborn's house in Concord with a carriage to arrest him and bring him to trial. He resisted, putting his legs up against the doorframe of his house at first and then up against the carriage. And during this, the neighbors, the Whitings, heard the commotion and knew of the threat. So they ran through town, making their way to the First Unitarian Parish Church to ring the bells so that the people of Concord would rush to help. In the meantime, Miss Annie Whiting, the next-door neighbor, jumped in the carriage, striking the marshals with her cane, delaying their attempt, ultimately buying the time needed for the bell to ring, the people to gather, and the people of Concord overwhelmed the marshals, driving them out of town amidst some quick legal work as well, saving Sanborn from being taken away that night. And in a letter to a friend, neighbor Louisa May Alcott in Concord wrote, "Sanborn was nearly kidnapped, great ferment in town. Annie Whiting immortalized herself by getting into the kidnapper's carriage so that they could not put the long-legged martyr in." A lesser-known story, one of disobedience to law and order for a higher obedience to justice, of a community caring for each other by whatever means they had, cane and all. There is the story of Louisa May Alcott as well, being the first woman to vote in Concord for a school board election, where the presiding judge closed the rolls after the women voted, citing that their voices had been stifled too long, so the men could sit this one out, didn't allow the men to vote. A rare suppression of democracy that I think we can get behind. There are other stories of Universalist Clara Barton creating and leading a school, but once it was successful, the town asking her to step aside and just teach while they hired a man to become principal at twice her salary. And she left the work she had done because the culture wasn't able to handle her, and then she just went off to start the Red Cross and do all these other beautiful, amazing things because she was a badass. She said, as my daughter Clara said a few weeks ago, she said this, "I may sometimes be willing to work for free, but if I am paid, I shall not work for a man's job for less than a man's pay." Amen, Clara. There is, to no surprise to many here, a continual pattern of erasure of women and people of color and indigenous people throughout these places that we visit, infused within our own religious tradition, within the broader stories of our country, our world, our history. We're not immune to such things. We regularly celebrate that our congregation ordained Eliza Tupper Wilkes in 1871, among the first women ordained by Protestant denominations in the United States, and how she started not only the Sioux Falls Public Library, but 11 Unitarian and Universalist congregations in the Midwest. But that in and of itself is in part due to ivory tower preachers of New England unwilling to move west and serve prairie congregations. So women mostly did it, part of which was called the Iowa Sisterhood. It was a type of geographic oppression based on gender. You can serve here because the men don't want to. Or the story of Unitarian Julia Ward Howe, known as writing the Battle Hymn of the Republic, a deeply committed suffragist and abolitionist. She endured a horrific marriage where her creativity was stifled, her agency and body disregarded, and yet was one of the leading voices in the work of liberation, including gathering a conference of women in ministry in the 1870s in Boston, in which our own Reverend Eliza attended. She wrote of her marriage, "In the course of this time, I have never known my husband to approve of any act of mine which I myself valued. Books, poems, essays, everything has been contemptible or contraband in his eyes." There's the story of Lydia Mariah Child, who gets a plaque by her grandfather's house in honor of her writing Over the River and Through the Wood. But yet, along the Boston Commons, in Boston, that area where Child lived, there's a row of large statues, including, among others, Charles Sumner, Wendell Phillips, his statue saying, "Prophet of Liberty, Champion of the Slave," with no mention that these and many other men were convinced of abolition after the work and convincing by Lydia Mariah Child. No statue to her. And while the erasure of women's voices and legacy is not universal, there are some plaques here and there. There are some more recent commemorations or statues. The erasure in our stories and in our physical communal remembering is persistent. And these were the white women, with proximity and access to systems and cultures of power as compared to so many others. One of the guiding questions Derek asks our pilgrims on our journeys is what stories are not being told, or at least not predominantly? What is not being said? Who is not being honored? What is missing that if we're attentive, we might still find? This week, this led me back to some of Alice Walker's work. And a quote that has always stuck with me that I continue to reflect on regularly is this. Alice Walker wrote, "How was the creativity kept alive year after year, century after century, when for most of the years Black people have been in America, it was a punishable crime for a Black person to learn to read or write? And the freedom to paint or to sculpt or to expand the mind did not exist." She said, "Consider, if you can even bear to imagine it, what might have been the result of singing if singing, too, were forbidden by law. Think of the voices of Bessie Smith and Billie Holiday, Nina Simone, Roberta Flack, and Aretha Franklin, among others, and imagine their voices muzzled for life." She wrote, "The agony of the lives of women who might have been poets, novelists, essayists, short story writers who died with their real gifts stifled within them." There is, along with the discomfort and the pain and the struggle, a type of liberation and empowerment that can come from the practice of working to uncover, to deepen our awareness of the stories often untold, the people and places often unnoticed. There is a practice of reclamation, perhaps, not of drudging something up with shame, things that were horrific, though that might be okay sometimes too, but an honoring of the lives of those who endured and survived, and a memorializing of the lives that didn't, of freeing ourselves of the myths that everything has just progressed consistently and easily forward when we know, look at the current world, we know that's not true. The ground and the soil of all of our stories, all of our families, our religion, our country are filled with hazards, no smooth paths to travel. Perhaps in telling the stories and grappling with what they mean for us, no easy answers, no easy histories, the stories themselves become companions for the way forward. They help begin to create a path that's filled with humility and pride and sorrow and beauty. And in so doing, I believe that is an honoring of ancestors, of those who need a little redemption or conviction, of those who fought their way through horrific conditions, of those who were forgotten or displaced or erased entirely. Each Sunday, I call for the names that we hold in our hearts, known and unknown. Alice Walker wrote, "We must fearlessly pull out of ourselves and look at and identify with our lives the living creativity some of our great-grandmothers were not allowed to know, to embody the creativity our ancestors were not allowed to." The only way you make it to your ancestors, on this rocky hill on this day, we were on the way to Louisa May Alcott, Henry David Thoreau, among others, and down the hill, relegated to lower places for reasons not fully expressed, but in some ways completely tracks, Elizabeth Peabody, down the hill, who always built up others by starting kindergarten, by being the first woman publisher and a powerhouse of influence for all of the influential men of her day. The only way we make it through these hazarded pathways is by paying attention to the roots, just barely breaking through the ground as we know it, adjusting our careful traveling through that history, and sometimes when it catches our sure footing, letting ourselves adjust a bit to find our balance again on this uneven, messy ground. Or, as a practice we found that Derek pointed out at the Concord Museum, when they're putting in these pieces or these writings and they don't necessarily know the source, instead of saying anonymous, they're saying name once known. "My most beautiful hiding places," writes the poet, "places that best fit my soul's deepest colors, are made of all that others forgot, hollowed out in the grass's caress, where there are shadows that come to life. The hymn is We Would Be One. I invite you to rise in body or spirit as we sing.
We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other to show us all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in search for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service with love and justice, strive to make us free.
I invite you, as you're comfortable, to place a hand on your heart or toward the sky or the earth in gratitude and breathe deep the breath of life. Go yonder, and gather the people. Give them not hell, but courage and hope. Give them something of the love you have found here, and tell all the people that love is our home.